Good morning. Happy Friday. I think this is my empty bottle. I'm trying to put some oils on.
Don't you love it when that happens?
I'm like, nothing's coming out. Totally. And I know you know this. So Valor's like my favorite. I got to put some on. Okay, so, yep, that one was empty. This one's good. So good morning, everybody. Sorry while I'm giving my little oil snafu, but I have to put some on. This morning, so I am Jill Coletti, for those of you who do not know me, and I am kind of on a mission here to help moms and families get out of that stuck of like a Groundhog Day life and really help them to live a life that they love and like really be able to create that, right? We do that through healing and through writing, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, and all sorts of things, right? And the big thing is like the connectedness and connection and, working off our energy and striving for more and going after our dreams, which is something I'm sure we'll talk about today. I'm actually now dubbing Fridays as Family Friday. And so this will run the gamut of like things that I talk about that are based on my family and other people's families. And today I have Miss Carolynn on here, who is part of the Invincible Family Project, which is obviously family related. So hence the Family Friday, right? The Invincible Family Project is a book and really kind of a movement, to be honest, that has started with the most amazing Martha Krejci and her community, basically, which we are both a part of. And the whole point of that is to help like everyday families like us too here create hope for their future and to dream and to live a life that they love, right? And for us, it's creating a life that we love working from home. But I'm sure for other people, there may be different things. There's a lot to that, though, I think. It's not just about the work or like income coming in. Carol and I were kind of talking a little bit beforehand. But that's basically the whole piece is like just not living your life for someone else is creating a life for you and your family and making like your family bulletproof no matter what's going on in the world. And I think there's a lot, we could really go into a lot that's kind of related to that. But Martha has been a blessing in my life, as has the entire community, Carolyn included. There's so many amazing women. And there's 27 of us who have contributed into this book. Yeah. So I am so excited to have you on. Carolyn's my first to kind of chat about this book. I know if some of you have watched, I have shared a little bit about this book. The link is in the comments, as is the link to connect with Carolynn as well. I would love for you to share a little bit about you, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Like Jill said, my name is Carolynn, and I live in South Central Kansas with my husband and 6 children. So they range from ages 16 down to 4. And we've been
So you have a lot of time on your hands.
Oh, tons.
Lots of free time.
I get to go to the bathroom by myself all the time, and no one ever interrupts my showers. And I get 9 hours of sleep every night. I mean, it's the glorious life. I don't ever step in something cold and wet and wonder what it is. Yeah, nope. I don't know about any of that stuff.
Love it.
But we've been a one income family for a long time now. I think I stopped working when we were expecting child number 4. So, wow, that's been a long time. But, that's just a lot of stress on one person to be the sole, financial provider for 8 people. But really kind of the reason I wanted to join this book project, and even why I found Martha, was because growing up, I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Like, I was one of those at age 3 or 4. I knew that's what God was calling me to do. I wanted to be a mom. And, like, even in high school, this sounds bad, but even in high school, if I would have had the ability to provide for my children the way I wanted to, I seriously probably would have started having kids in high school. But I knew I wanted to be a little bit more stable and definitely have a few more things in line. And so I did go to college, and literally 2 weeks from my college graduation, I got married. And then 3 months later, we were pregnant, and then have pretty much not stopped having kids. This is definitely the longest we've gone in between kids, but I am getting older. So right now I'm kind of like, I would probably freak out if we had another one, because at this point, my oldest will be going off to college when the youngest goes into kindergarten. And I'm just like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
It's hard having teenagers and toddlers at the same time.
Oh, I can't even imagine. It's hard for me having 2 kids and 12 and 7. So I can only imagine, that. I remember like her being out of diapers, and then I like had to go back to it, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to do that again. So I can't imagine doing it 5 times. But
well, our first 4 are so close together that we never made it to a second birthday without another one being out. And so we had the first 4 in, like, I don't know, from 2005 to 2010. Yeah. So we had the first 4 in 5 years, and then it took us 7 years to get the other 2 here. But really, I think in between, we only went maybe 4 months without diapers. So, one point in time I think a couple of times we had 3 in diapers. So, you just line them up. Huh?
So you are busy with lots of kid stuff.
Yep.
I love, like, it sounds like your inspiration was like just being able to support your husband in some of the financial stuff. Is that right?
That's why I started.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the reason why I stayed, if that makes sense.
I'd love to hear. It totally makes sense. I get it. We're in it. Like, I get that. But
yeah, so I started to help alleviate some pressure off of my husband. But what it really has done is I actually have, on and off, even when I was a young child, like even in high school, I was hospitalized for depression. But like, I remember being at home right after I switched from teaching to being home full time. I was getting really depressed. Like, I moved here when we got married. Not like it would matter, because my family, where I grew up, my family is no longer there. Like, we've all kind of dispersed. But I started to feel homesick, and my husband didn't understand because he was born and raised here. And so he's just like, oh, well, make friends with my friends' wives. And while that's great, and they are fabulous people, like, I know I could call them up and they would help me if I needed it. I'm like, just because you're friends with their husbands doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to click with them. Again, they're fabulous people, but you just click better with some people than others. And so I was starting to feel homesick, and then started to get depressed because, in my mind, I had told myself all these years that being a mom was my purpose. Like, I was going to rock at being a mom. I grew up around kids. My mom did home daycare for 13 years. So because of that, I started babysitting really, really young.
Yeah.
I started working in childcare centers, and I went to school to be a teacher, and I have an early childhood degree. So, like, kids have been my life. And so then obviously I jumped headfirst into having my own and didn't stop for quite a while. And so I'm in it, and, kind of like what you support people with, like it became the same thing every single day. And I did not feel like I was doing a good job. Um, and I started to get really depressed because I was like, this is what God put me on this earth for. Why do I stink at this so bad? Why am I not better at this? Why? And then because of that, depression and guilt really started to set in. And so then when you're not feeling great about yourself, that infiltrates every other relationship you have. And so then, I did start becoming not as good of a wife, and I did start becoming not as good of a mom, and wasn't taking care of myself, and, just all the things that intertwine, like not getting enough sleep. And so then you usually, at least for me, self-control's a lot lower. So then I just start eating crap because it's convenient or it's there. That's what sounds good, instead of really fueling your body with the things that will help you be the best you can be. And so I joined for money, and I stayed because it gave me another purpose outside of my children.
Oh, I just got the chills. Yeah. I feel like you speak to everything you just said, could speak to any mom, and really probably any woman, because so much of us is there to help and be there for other people, right? Like you always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a wife. I wanted to be all these things, right? And I lost myself in that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
So
it's in the it's so easy to do. And I feel like so many of us, probably a good majority of women and of moms, do that to some degree, to some extent, right?
Well, I feel like a lot of times the culture tells us to do that. Like if we are not giving everything to our children, then that means we're a bad mom.
Yep. Well, all that, like, look at like Pinterest perfect and like all the things, like all the mom shaming and guilting that you're seeing, or the comparison stuff on everyone posting all the perfectness. And then you're just like, oh my God, I haven't taken a shower in 2 days and I'm like failing at life. And look at this person who has, like, I'll do it sometimes. I'll be like, look at this person who has 6 kids or 10, 11 kids. Like we know some people in our group who have 11 or 10 going on 11 kids. And it seems like all their stuff is put together. But like I think one of the biggest things with the community that we are in is that we are all in this together, and that there's like, we're not comparing each other. I mean, I think everyone probably still does it to an extent, but we're all building. The whole point of this project, right, is that all the families, everyone looks different. Every family looks a little bit different, but we're all able to find what our purpose is and what our mission in this life is, for ourselves, and to help our family and bring our family with us.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And
so
I mean,
like
I know
that purpose.
Mm-hmm. I know that quite a few of us kind of seem like we might be doing similar things, but yeah, I mean, the mom who has 10 going on 11, like she homeschools, and she actually wasn't sure she wanted to be a mom, and so that's different because yes, I only have 6 children. Trust me, that has come through my head. Oh, I only have 6 children. But like I had all this background knowledge. I had a deep desire to be a mom. And then I became a mom, and I'm like, this is hard. And I'm not trying to be mean. I came in more prepared than most people.
Yeah.
I remember having my first and getting ready to leave the birth care center, and I almost had a panic attack. I was like, oh my gosh, they're just going to let me leave? Like, I don't get a book. I don't get a manual. I don't get and this is coming from someone who had been a summer nanny. Like, taking care of kids was not new to me. And I just kept thinking, how in the world would a woman feel if she had never planned on having kids? and was in this position, like taking her baby home from the hospital and not ever planned on being a mom. Like, I just, I'm sure hormones had some to do with it, but like just the thought of that almost brought me to an ugly cry. Because I was just like, here I am. I know how to change diapers. I mean, my mom was even waiting for us at our house. So it's not like, I mean, I had support, but I still was just, oh my gosh, they are just going to let me leave with this child. Just the responsibility was immense. And again, I feel like, not that you're supposed to compare, but compared to most people, I was more equipped than most of the people I know when they had their first kid.
Yeah.
And I still felt like that. So
you came into like our home-based revolution community, feeling like I'm going to go in from looking for the financial.
Mm-hmm.
You get into it and then you're like, I'm staying here. It sounds like too, for the community piece, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the purpose piece for you and like your own self-care and your own purpose outside of being a mom, or not outside of, but along with being a mom, right? Because you're helping other moms, right? So now I would love to, because I know we only have so much time, because you do bar, correct? You teach bar.
Yeah, I teach bar forte classes, so
which is so fun because I remember seeing you going through like your training and like graduating, and now you're like consistently doing classes, which is so fun.
Right.
I think one of the biggest things is that we all cheer each other on.
Yes.
Like no matter what, right? Like even like you said, it seems like we might do similar things, but we really don't. There's like an abundance in this world that we can all do our own thing, very niche and specific to us, and we all can do it all at the same time, right?
Right.
Which is awesome. And I think a lot of the people who will watch this will resonate with your story, because no matter how equipped you are, it is like, when you become a mom. I'm sorry. It totally is. I don't even know. What I would love to hear is, what does the Invincible Family Project mean to you? Like the book or the project overall, and like where are you now, and like where do you see yourself going?
Well, the project, the book, all of that was really about kind of proving to myself and making myself feel a little bit better, knowing that I can still be a mom, and we can still, because being a stay-at-home mom, a lot of people are like, oh, well, what do you do all day? But it's still very much like emotionally, it was really, really hard for me when I switched to working to being at home, because at least at work, even though I was still working with toddlers, like at the end of the day, I could be like, oh, well, we did this and this and this and this and this. And at home, it's like, well, I know I've done the dishes, and I know I've done laundry, and I know I've cleaned up a mess, but yet you feel like you have nothing to show for it at the end of the day. And that can be very defeating. And, it's the whole disconnect between the head and the heart, like, you're doing the right thing for your family, but yet it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't look like you've done anything. It looks like you've just sat on the couch and eaten bonbons all day.
Yeah.
And so I kind of, I don't know why that's sorry, I'm getting some feedback. I don't know why, all of a sudden. But like, it was one of those things. I had always wanted to write a book. That is something I've always wanted to do. When I went and started taking bar classes, I was like, oh, well, this would be fun to do one day, to be an instructor. I mean, it was always one of those, once the kids leave. Like, I always wanted to be a life coach once the kids leave. And so I got in this community, and, like you said, everyone supports each other. And it's like, well, why can't you do them both now? Fit this stuff around your family.
Exactly.
And it's just amazing how that has changed me, and thus I've become a better parent, and my marriage is better, and all of that stuff, because
Chills everywhere as you're
right,
talking.
like,
Yes.
I mean, there's teeny tiny pieces, but the stuff that I was always like, oh, well, that's for later. That's for after the kids. That's for after the kids. It's like, why does it have to wait? You know, especially the way Martha has all of this set up. You can go at your own pace. And the wonderful thing about it is when life happens, like, it's okay to step back, and the community is there to support you when you step back, and the community is amazing when you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so flustered, I don't know where to start, and they help guide you and motivate you and support you along the way. You know, like, I remember you know, these past October and November are going to be pretty big months for me, because like, that's when I became bar certified a year ago and became a life
Oh, it's
coach.
already been a year.
I know,
Where has the
right?
year gone? Wow. Okay.
But also a year ago, my youngest started having seizures, and that started almost right after I joined Martha's group. And at first I thought it was, oh, well, this is God's way of telling me that, no, this is not the right time for this. Like, I need to really focus on my family. But again, I went back into the just solely focusing on my family and noticed, like, I am not the best mom or the best wife, because I do feel like this piece of me is missing, and it's not completely being fulfilled. You know, like, when I was completely focused on my family and my child, especially the one having seizures, which I do feel like there's a time and a place for this.
Yeah.
It's not like I was neglecting her or anything, but I'm sure, as you can imagine, when something like that just happens all of a sudden, it just rocks your world for a while. And then
Absolutely.
when you're finally starting to climb out, like, you're dizzy and you're like, oh my gosh, where even am I? But, you know, all of that stuff, like, I stopped doing my Bible study during that time. I stopped making sure I was sleeping. I stopped making sure I was eating correctly. I stopped making sure I was taking showers. And before you know it, like, you're snapping at every little thing. And just my husband breathing was irritating. And like, everyone ate too loud. And just, you're not a good mom or a good wife when everything irritates you. And so the community was there when I was like, oh my gosh, she's having seizures. And of course, some of the women, their children also have seizures. So that was an instant support group right there.
Yeah.
And then when we finally got things a little bit more mellowed out, then they were kind of like, okay, well, we're here to support you. What do you want to do now? What have you learned from this? And then, you know, we got things kind of figured out and went 175 days. And then she had 2 more seizures. And I literally dropped everything. And this community was like, we will pray for you. Reach out if you need anything. I had a few people even text me and message me, you know, every couple of days, how are things going? Because, you know, again, I kind of stopped showing up for about 2 weeks, that kind of thing. But they, like, I remember when I kind of finally came back and I apologized that I had been gone. And Martha is like, this is why we do this.
Exactly.
She's like, you know, what would happen if your husband would have just walked away from his job for 2 weeks? Like, yeah, I mean, that didn't happen. He took a couple of days off, but he didn't stay home for 2 weeks. And she goes, this is why we are doing this, so that families have the freedom to step away and do what they need to do for their family. So
Exactly. And I know I know you've got to go. So, but you and I were talking before we started, and just how it's not about the money now at this point. It's about, it sounds like, like the freedom, right? The purpose. It's about you feeling fulfilled as a human, right? And this is one of my lines, and this is like the quote from the section in, you know, my chapter is you got to put mom first, then you bring in the kids, and then you can impact the world.
Yeah.
In the way that and it sounds very much for you, like your family is always at the forefront of your mind, right? Just my family is always at the forefront of my mind. But we have to do things for ourselves in order to be fulfilled, in order to be the best mom and spouse and, partner and friend and everything else. When we put ourselves completely to the wayside, like you said, everything starts deteriorating and you're not taking care of yourself, and then your relationships get affected by that. But in this case, we're able to make the invincible family and create that hope and do these things because you're being fulfilled, right? You're using your creative mind, you're writing, you're doing all these things. You're doing this for your family. You're doing this with your family because they're there. They're watching it all, right? And then you're having a greater impact on the world. Literally just this conversation itself is going to impact other people because they're going to be like, me too. I feel like that, right? And that's really what, in my mind, this project is all about. And then, like you said, you're creating, multiple streams of income. You're able to go to your bar class, but then you're able to come home and do all the things you need to for your family.
Right.
Right. And you're able to balance that and create a life that works for you and your family specifically, which would be different than mine. Right.
Right.
That's what I feel like it all works for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
My toddler's working her way down here.
And I know you have your bar class and kiddos and all that jazz. Is there anything that you would like to share? I know we have the link on how to work with you, like where people can find out how to work with you.
Hold on, you want to come up here? See, we haven't brushed our hair yet today, but
we need to brush hair. Oh,
hi! Can you say hi?
There's part of the Invincible family right there.
Right.
Anything you would like to share before we go?
I mean, just how, you kind of talked about how you were supporting parents and moms and stuff like that. With having 6 kids, it has been very, very easy to get overly busy. I feel like our culture is definitely very much of, you got to start kids in activities at a certain age, like when they're this age, for them to have a chance to, get into a good college or get scholarships, or heck, even at least nowadays, I don't feel like this was necessarily the case. It was starting when I was in high school, but it wasn't as full blown as it is now. But I mean, a lot of times now you can't even make a high school team unless you've been playing that sport or doing that activity for 3 or 4 years beforehand.
Oh yeah.
And that just causes, in my opinion, parents to be run down, again, not taking care of themselves. And when that happens, then your relationships suffer. You have less patience. So I like to support the moms who always feel like they are in their vans. In fact, it's on my list to start soon, a podcast. And I think I might call it Moms Waiting in Vans, because
I love that.
Yeah. And so talk about how you can balance your life when you're so busy, but busy. Yes. Huh.
Busy.
But then also, because of my background, becoming a better person so that you can be a better mom, let's be honest, it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it takes time. And there are times where you have a tantruming toddler and you need to deal with that right now. You can't wait until you have more patience in 3 weeks to deal with that. And so while I focus on, helping you set up your life so that you can take care of yourself and be more balanced and less busy and less stressed, I also give little tips and tricks of how you can handle when your toddler refuses to get into the van and get their straps on for their car seat and you're already 5 minutes late. Like, what do you do in those times where you can't wait anymore? So trying to balance the let's get better together, but when you need help right now, this is some ideas that you can do.
I love that. That's so, as you were saying that, I'm like, I remember when my son would not get in the car. He's always my like super stubborn one, right? And he's like, I'm not getting in the car. Nope.
And the more you say you need to hurry because we're late, the slower they're going to go.
The worse it gets. Yeah.
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 That's one of your tricks, huh? Isn't it? Or,
so we have your link. I put it in the description. So if this resonates with you when you're listening to this, hop on over and connect with Carolynn. And I'm so excited for this project. I'm so excited to be in it with you, and you're doing amazing things. I just love it.
Thank you. So are you.
And raising 6 humans. So there you go. I mean, I'm like this with 6. You know, I'm like, 2 is good for me. But,
and each kid is different too,
so it's like balancing all the different personalities and everything. So I know you have a wealth of knowledge to share with people. So I'm excited to be along beside you on be able to watch your journey. So
you too.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being on here today. Thank you for sharing. And I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
Have fun at bar.
Have a great day.
Bye.